Hi, welcome. And on this video I'm going to discuss the Longline method, what is its purpose, and how to incorporate it into your daily training routine, and how it's meant or designed to advance the role changing process. So basically the Longline method, what it works into, it's where we start to set up for a dog to listen, and so what it does is it sets up the come command. And you know, when you do a Longline method, understand that it's it's done only after probably about a week or so after some role change has already taken place. So the whole setup here, the whole kind of way benchmarks work, or with progressing along so that you're starting to change the very core of the relationship. The goal here is to make it so that you're going to be successful. It's to build up your confidence with these techniques. And so, the first week or two, it's really, the whole idea is to keep it simple, to use just a short leash, and to focus on creating these follower moments. And so what the Longline does is it just kind of branches out and kind of extends out our level of influence. So just kind of, the first, you want to keep it very focused in, tight. What you're basically doing is you're targeting and cornering your dog's mind. You're in competition. And again, once role changes happen, then we'll start to do the Longline method. Now here I'm going to show you the Longline that I use or I have. And what it is you see here, it's again a long line. Okay, you can make this either yourself, because I made this one, so I just I bought a hook. I got some bendable wire to secure the hook at the end of this line. And the line itself is just like this is like a closed type line that is, the outer part of the line is like a hard plastic. And the idea here is for the line, you want the line to be thin and very light but strong, because the goal here with it being light is we actually want the dog to not have a awareness that it's on them. We don't want the heaviness of the line, because this is about listening. This is the thing, the dog goes out away from us a little ways, a distance. We're going to bring them in. We're going to pull on the line and bring them in. So we want to set them up and kind of, you can call it, set them up in a way that kind of like they're out there, because we need to get them in a position so we can take hold of the mind. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're grabbing the mind. So, the line itself, we want it to be light. This one here is wrapped up, it's 30 feet long, and when you're using the line, the idea here too is, when you're starting to do it, it's going to seem a little awkward at first, but what you want to do is you want to keep, when you're setting up or beginning this exercise, you want to keep the line fairly, you're working off, a short end. So what you're doing is it becomes a short leash, okay, for how you're using it. So the full length of the line is kind of like behind you on the ground or floor or whatever. And so how you use it, you want to kind of get, it takes a little bit of practice, but comfortable using it. And it's just basically manipulating it. And what I've done here too, you'll see, is I've tied in knots, okay, along the line. And what these knots do is it helps me grip the line at certain points. So you want to just, you just wrap it, and you just make your own knot by wrapping it through and just tightening, okay. And then, here's right here, there's a knot, okay, just tighten that up. But that's basically it, and it allows me to grab at certain points. The other reason too, I'll explain why you don't want to start Longline off too fast, because again, dogs that are holding power in the relationship, relationally, are going to express that power. So that's why dogs will charge out or barge, try to get around you out the door, not listen. It's the whole thing, because they're pushing boundaries. Okay, they're expressing a level of power. So the reason you don't want to do this Longline exercise too soon is the dog is going to want to rush out And probably what's going to happen is it can actually burn your hands. You know, I've had this happen to me a couple times unexpectedly, but it'll actually burn your hands. So, you know, if you do start this, even if you have a dog, you know, after say a couple of weeks, you have some good level of roll change happening. What you want to do is, you know, you want to maybe wear even like a pair of gloves that you put on your hands to help with, to minimize the potential for your hands getting you know, torn up a little bit. But again, you know, the thing is here is if you're doing the methodology using short leash and the first couple of weeks to focus on your moments, you'll get a level of roll change. You'll get your dog roll change at a level that the long line exercise kind of falls right into place. Okay, the dog is ready for this exercise. So what this exercise again does, using the line, is again it sets up the come command. So again, the first week or two, even after the first couple of weeks, depending on, I'm not using commands because we're working off connection. You know, explain this in my other videos. You know, when I say we're not using commands, it really will challenge people. But you really got to get to you really start to understand what are we doing? Okay, what's the point of? And this is where this whole idea about dogs learning and why people get kind of twisted up in these ideas and to fail to see the connection, the relational part of this, and so they'll follow certain methodologies, and the roll changes won't happen. It'll stall out, or you'll be in a stalemate because you're not connecting in the way that's funneling through the strength of the roll. You're not creating meaningful influence. Okay, so you don't use commands because, again, for both how the dog perceives you, you may have just built your foundation on sand, and that's why when you call your dog and try to use language, verbal language, it's mind and body, it's the whole. So the dog will just perhaps perceive you as, okay, I'll come to them because I'm going to get something in return, or a treat, or whatever. You want to disengage away from all that. Okay, the same as this exercise. When you call your dog in for come, you're pulling. Okay, immediately. You're not waiting for the dog to respond from that command yet. Okay, and we'll talk about this whole thing with when the dog's ready and we're testing it, but we're not doing that. That's not the idea here. Okay. So here, the long line again. It's a way, again, it's communication. Okay, so we're communicating, but through the strength of the roll. We're not communicating through where the emphasis is on to the dog to respond yet that way to verbal commands. I'm communicating just I'm pulling them on, okay, through the strength of the roll. So the long line, it allows me the ability to pull the dog. That's why we're using that long line. So here, what we're doing here, so when you do the long line exercise, you'll see, if you go in and look at my videos, you'll see it being done with the dog. Okay, this video here, I'm going to talk about the methodology around using the long line, some little points here to keep in mind while you're doing it. But you go in and look at my videos, and you'll find videos that show the dog actually being pulled. Okay, but here, so here again, it's the come command. So here, this is where we actually start to introduce a word, verbal, a command, okay? But, okay, this is the but part. It's not framed up like just saying the word and expect the dog to respond, because we're still creating roll changes. We're still changing up the foundation blocks, okay? So, therefore, when I say come to the dog, I'm already pulling. You're already pulling. Okay, that's important. Okay, and you're only saying the command one time. Just say it one time. Don't say come, come, come. That's defeats the purpose. I mean, the dog hears it. The dog just doesn't respond because of perceptions. I mean, the dog's not perceiving you as a leader yet. Okay, this is why we're doing this. We're building up your leadership, how you perceive as a leader. This is building on that perception. Okay, so then, therefore, after we change out enough of the foundation stones, and I say come, the dog's going to come right in. But for now, we just want to say come because we are attaching it to to influence. We're attaching it to this, okay? But so we're hooking it on, okay? But again, your focus is mostly on pulling, Okay, you're pulling the dog into position. So here, again, when you do this exercise, okay, you want to pick a spot, okay, so when you go out into your yard, normally you'll start this long line exercise, you can do it in your backyard, that's a good place to start. If you're doing the come command, you can actually do it off using your short leash inside the house. So you're just putting your dog into, you can use the tile, say, in your kitchen, because this all works off of that. So here, for example, you can use the tiles in your kitchen, use the short line, put your dog into the sit position, back up, the dog moves, keep putting the dog back into the same position, and then once they're solid in that sit position, okay, where you're communicating, saying, no, you're not moving until I tell you to. This is where you don't use the word stay. Okay, we're not using the word stay because it's implied to how we're communicating to the strength of the role. It is what it is. Okay, it's not. I mean, if I'm starting to have to say stay, I'm really communicating that I know I don't have influence at that level. Okay, I'm trying again. I'm going back to this whole idea about teaching a dog can learn. Forget all that stuff. Okay, that's, I really encourage you to reject that type of thinking. Okay, now we're just putting the dog in to the strength of the role. And just pushing the dog back into it until the dog understands. Okay, I'm going to express to you, the dog, when you're going to come in. Okay, and that's going to play out through the leash, pulling the leash. But when I say the word come. So again, when you're doing this, starting to do kind of a short version of the long line, okay, this is where you use your short leash inside your house, and just you can work off, say, if you want a visual aid, you can use the tile, say, if you have a tile floor anywhere in your house, or, just visualize it. You don't need tile, but that's a good kind of visualization tool. Put your dog in a tile, and make sure you just keep putting the dog back in that same tile while you're setting up to bring your dog into you, okay? You step back a certain distance. Now, when you do this, you don't want to step back too far. If the dog's trying to move a lot, you want to stay really close. Just keep putting your dog back, okay? That's the exercise, just to get the dog securely to stay in that one tile as you back away with the leash, okay? Keep the leash kind of, so there's a little slack happening as you're backing up. And once you gain, say, 4 or 5 feet, then say, your dog needs to be, say, max. Say max. Now, when you say, this is the thing, in this exercise for inside your home, when you're saying the dog's name max, that's just to call your dog out of a group, say. Okay, say your dog is somewhere, you say max. That's to get your dog's attention. And that what that indicates is another command is about to follow. So I'll say max, but here, what I'm doing, I'll say Max, but if Max tries to come off being called by his name, no, I'm going to put it back. Okay, no, that's just to call you out. That's to say, pay attention. Something else is coming. Okay, so I'll say Max. That doesn't mean, that just means, okay, focus on me. So I'll say Max. Max should be a little bit more, okay, attentive. Then I'll say, I'll wait a second. Then I'll say Max, come. But as you're saying come, okay, you're pulling right away. Immediately, smooth and fluid technique. Okay, you're pulling Max right into you, and you want Max to be facing you, okay, into the sit position. So when you bring Max in, push on Max so this way, Max is going to be here kind of looking at you, and you'll have to lean over a little bit and push Max into the sit position so Max is facing you, okay? And lock, so push really assertively. Max goes in the sit position. But then what I'll do is I'll switch my hand around. I'll push again on the upper back. So I'm doing the push-pull technique. Okay. When Max's bum hits the floor, I'll bring my hand away from the bum area because you don't want to rub the body. And then I'll push on Max's upper shoulder blades, and I'll pull up on the leash at the same time. And what I'm doing there is I'm targeting. I'm creating I'm grabbing the mind. I'm creating a really good follower moment. I want that. Okay, I want to bring the mind through me. Okay, I want to establish that. So I'll do push-pull. I got my second to 2 moment where Max is really in the follower state of mind, looking at me, and then I'll repeat the exercise. Now the whole thing here with, too, I get into this about, a lot of times we want to praise the dog. Oh, good boy, Max, good boy. Don't get too caught up in that. There's a reason for that. and I'll talk about that on another video. I could do that and be fine with it based on my personality type. I'm still going to create role change, whereas you could do it, and because it represents something totally different, okay, in the animal world, okay, with how through connection, it's not good to be doing that at this point for you to be wanting. Even though, trust me, if you're at a certain level, you're going to desperately want to do that. That's the very reason why you shouldn't do it, okay? Because Max has already pegged you as weak, and you need to do everything in your power to pull the other direction, okay? And trust me, the fact that we're bringing Max or your dog into a follower role, that's the happiness factor, okay? That's the life factor. If we say good boy, that's feeding our own psychology, that's feeding my own emotional needs. Trust me, dogs aren't built that way, okay? People are pouring too much emotion into that, projecting that, and it's not a healthy mix, because you have to have much understand connection. You'll see exactly why that will create a problem, okay? And there's so much here that's appearance and deceptive that you really got to pay attention, be aware. But again, you do the long line type, or the leash version type of this exercise for the first week or two before we even start with the longer line. That's recommended, okay? Now I'll be talking about that. If you look for another video, I'm going to talk about that little exercise. But again, that's the kind of a setup to the longer line. But here, when you do the long line, again, what we're going to do is recommend you use, say, your backyard to do this. And the idea is, again, is for you to pick your spot and for you to hold that position, secure that area, so you're not walking to your dog, okay? Fine, you want to be like a pillar, okay? You're the pillar, so to speak, okay? And you're the foundation, you're like the corner foundation stone for the foundation you're building. So you want to keep, you have to, you're expressing strength. So, because the more you walk towards your dog or walk around, the dog senses that, okay? And your psychology is getting weaker. So you want to make sure that you pick your spot and work off that one area and bring your dog to you. So even if the dog, here for example, if I'm pulling the dog in on the long line, and the dog, will kind of go snaky in one direction a little bit, don't try to turn too much or whatever. Just keep pulling the line in right to you, bring him into you, okay? Because he'll go maybe sideways a little bit or this direction on the line. Don't go out of position. Just bring it in right to you, and then bring your dog into that sit position front on to you, okay? So the idea here of the log line, again, is what we're doing. We're setting up the come command. So here, again, as we do it, so the idea is when you first start the long line exercise, okay, the dog doesn't have to be sitting facing you, okay? In fact, the dog can be beside you, okay? But again, what you want to do is, and usually what you have is you'll bring the long line out with you, but you'll have the dog on the leash at first. So you just be kind of carrying the long line, just wrapped up in your hand, and I'll have the leash, on the other side. I have little leashes and lines here. So I'll have the leash, the leash here, the dog will be on the leash, and I'll have my line on the other hand. And then what I'll do is, while the dog is on the leash, still on the leash, I'll take and keep the dog attached to the leash, okay, and I'll hook this hook onto the collar as well. So I'm transferring one of the other of them, I'm unhooking the leash. That way, I always have control of the dog, okay? The dog isn't out of control. And then, so it's just a matter of how you're working the lines and stuff. And then once the dog is on the long line, then immediately I'll cast off the extra line behind me and just on the ground, and then make sure you just work, so you're working that length of line of the longer line into, we pretend it's just a short leash, okay? Just keep the rest of the long line behind you, because you're going to use that. But here for setting it up, to start the exercise, what I'm doing with the line, now I'm using a short leash, and I'm bringing the dog into a sit position beside you, and the goal here is to bring the dog's state of mind into a follower state. And how we do that? Again, a push-pull, okay? So what I'll do is, immediately the long line becomes a short leash. I'm going to begin my long line exercise. I'll push on the dog's bum to get the dog there. Then I'll push on the upper back, and I'll pull up on the line, okay? Now it's a leash again. And the idea here is to grab the dog's mind. So I want to bring the dog into a good follower state so the dog is looking up at me, or just
calm for a second or two. The head should turn in towards you. And then, that's when I'll just say okay or go. It doesn't matter about the word. The dog's going to feel your state of just kind of relaxation. I'll say okay or go. And what you do is you can step away a little bit from the dog. You just relax and let the dog start to go out on the line. Okay? And that's when, I'll kind of let the line kind of feed through my hands. Okay? Let the dog advance out. Because here what I'm saying is it's okay. You can go now. But again, this is a conditional state. What we're doing is we're setting up that I'm attached to the dog. This is the setup, so I'm starting to take the crown off the dog's head in that backyard area. Okay, I'm starting to express that I own it out here, and I'm starting to build that bridge. So we're building the bridge using this line exercise. So as the dog goes out, now here it's important, when you're doing this, the dog, you don't want the dog going out very far before you bring them back in at first, because the point here is, that's just it. What's the point? Okay, if the dog's going out, immediately you should know, because we're dealing with role changing a dog, they're holding power. If they're going out, then immediately when the dog's out 4 or 5 feet, I already know in my mind, if I say come right now, that dog wouldn't come anyway. I mean, we're not going to do that, but in my mind, I already know the levels, how I'm perceived. So therefore, you're going to bring the dog in sooner at first. Okay, you just let the dog go out just a few feet, 4 or 5 feet, and you can tell how much the dog's rushing out and stuff. Immediately, I'm going to call the dog's name, say Max, and then wait just a hair second. Max, come. Start to pull right in. So you pull in just like a fishing line. Okay, pull. Now be assertive with this. Okay, don't be wishy-washy and stuff. Make sure the dog feels that pull. Okay, the dog's got to feel the pull. And even if the dog, this is important too, even if the dog is kind of coming on their own after a while, still have some pull behind it, okay? Get that line going, because there's got to be an awareness that you're the one calling the shots, okay? Because this is going to take a while, so we're not, don't get me wrong, that's going to be a good sign the dog's coming in, but you need to have some pull there, just like the same reason why it's important to push on your dog when you're doing the methodology for 3 or 4 weeks, even several weeks, because we want to make sure we're inside that dog's head, okay? That dog knows that we're leading the mind, okay? And how you can tell when the role change starts happening is the reactionary levels of the mind, okay? It's very important that you pull, okay? Assertively pull, and then when you do it, when you pull the dog in, again, bring them really in, fairly close to you. Now, this is kind of interesting, because you'll see dogs, when they get to a certain level, you're pulling that line, you'll see that they don't want to come in close to you. Okay, it's like they know the shadow of the building is following over them, and they don't want to come in close. That's the very reason why, because they're not accepting, they don't want to be near the new you in that parental type of leadership type of connection going on, okay, because they know what's going on. Deep down they know, hey, this ain't good, I don't want to be around Dale, he's way too much of the parent right now. Yeah, nudge that dog in, get that dog in within like an inch or two of you, not touching you, but very close to you, because we're surrounding, okay, we're kind of enveloping that dog's mind, we're pulling it in. That's the whole thing. We need that dog to accept our authority, okay, positionally, okay, make sure that dog's in nice and tight. Now the other issue is, when you use the line to bring the dog in, sometimes the line will get kind of twisted up and stuff. When the dog is close, you can just take a hold of the dog's collar, because now your arm can transfer over, can become the leash, and my fingers are the hook, okay? Because sometimes it's very awkward to try to get that line when the line is in close, the dog is coming in, say, really fast. I'll just reach out and I'll just grab the dog's collar and I'll pull the dog in, okay? And I'll push and pull, and then I'll grab the line again, okay? So just how you kind of manipulate and work between your arm and your fingers and doing this. But again, that's the setup. So it's basically just repetition, okay? Saying the dog's name, Max, come. Only say it once. Start to pull right in. Now, at first, you want to pull it a little sooner. Okay, dog's just going, Max is just going out maybe 7, 8 feet. I'm back in. But then I'm going to give the dog an extra foot or two, okay? Instead of 7 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet. Just kind of gauge it. You have to kind of see how the dog's responding. Now, as you do it, you'll notice a change in the dog. The dog is kind of like hanging around with you a little bit, kind of uncertain. Because what they're sensing is something's different here. Okay, Dale's starting to take over area here. I'm going to start to, hang with him a little bit. It throws them off, is what it does. Because you're changing the context. Okay, it's like behaviorally, but just relationally, everything's changing. So if that happens, just relax. relax, you know, you're not going to push your dog out or say, get out of here. Just relax, you walk around a little bit, and then what you do is actually kind of work your dog with the line, just kind of march over. It could be find a more interesting area. It could be a dog on the other side of the fence or something in that area, because that's what you're doing is your expectations need to go up. Okay, I want to, you know, push my dog into not wanting to listen because I want to work those areas. So again, let the dog go out and bring the dog in. The other thing about the line is you want to try to keep it up as the dog's walking out, kind of keep it up kind of a little high as the line feeds out. So, because the tendency is the dog will walk over it and kind of get tangled up in it. And if that happens, you know, you can just casually walk over and just kind of unwrap it from your dog and then just continue the exercise. But by keeping the line up a little higher, okay, you know, the dog won't get wrapped up into it as much. But again, same thing, as you're doing this, you can extend it out longer periods, work all different little areas. But again, this is the setup to come command, okay? This is the part where we're getting a dog to listen. So just in and out, in and out. And you can do this exercise when you're doing it at first. You can do it like for 10, 15 minutes. You're adding it on to your, if you look at my homework videos, this can be like week probably 2 or 3. Okay, I was incorporating this methodology in. I'm just adding it in. And then what you do is you can actually take this exercise, or this long line exercise, and what I recommend is going down to even like a dog park area. Okay, dog park. And I'm going to use the dog park. Now here, when you do this, I'm not going in the dog park, okay? The dogs are here, okay, in the park. I'm going to drive into the park, and I'm going to, all I want, and again, I want to create some distance here. I just want the dog to, if say that usually dogs, you know, in a holding power, they want to go towards other dogs really badly. I'm going to use this area, but I'm going to maintain my distance outside the park. But what I'm going to do here, be careful with this, because I don't want to aggravate those dogs in there, okay? So I'll keep a fair amount of distance so that my dog will see them, but it's not close enough so that those dogs see him too, and they're kind of, you know, feeding off that. So I'll just keep a fair distance here, because what I'm doing is I'm just kind of opening the door of the dog's mind, because I'm tempting the dog in one to go, and I'm using the long line to pull the dog back in. So what I'll do is I'll find a dog park, and I'll find a space or area outside that I can use where it's not intruding in other people. I can just, you know, I have a kind of my own space, so to speak, and I can work that, and I have the visual here that I'm using to help set this up, okay? So just something to keep in mind. We want to take this on the road, so to speak, a little bit into those areas, and the dog park, you know, is a perfect place to do it. And again, I'll do it for maybe, you know, 15 minutes. Have my coffee, relax, hang out with my dog, you know, maybe like a fun kind of, and then put the line away in the car, go for a walk, maybe go in the park, okay? But if you're using a dog park though, when you're dealing with roll changing dog, understand the relational context there. I'm going to have my dog on a leash, and we're just be working these moments and stuff. I don't want to get too caught up in just saying, oh, go play there, Max, because Max goes in, he could be a big dog. I mean, he could be, you know, because of the context, he could be, you know, using that scenario as a way to establish power. Okay, you won't see the dog fight, but so you know, the whole thing is I want to make sure Max is, you know, relationally, I'm building that foundation through me. Okay, that he's just not going out, because everything pivots off, you know, relationally off how I'm connecting. Okay, and that's critical. So here, long line exercise is a great exercise. Something that you have to kind of work at a little bit, but it sets up the come command. So then after, again, I won't need a line. Once I get going with this exercise for a while, now the time period involved is, you know, I could be using this for say 2 months, you know, before I'm really secure in the fact that and you'll see it, when you say talk about testing a dog and where a dog's at relationally with roll change, you'll know. I'll say, come Max, you're right in. Okay, you'll know. And then you can start to, you know, you can start to temper back how much you use in the long line, but it's something that you want to use even when you get a dog to a certain level of roll change. I'll use it periodically to kind of maintain, you know, what I've built. So it's more about maintenance then. So anyway, hope this gives you a little better insight to the long line exercise. Again, it's something that you want to incorporate in, and just kind of take your time when you're doing it. It's just you know, only done for, again, building on 10-15 minutes, and then I could shift it to more difficult
or areas that are going to be more distracting. But always treat everything as a controlled exercise. You never go into an area where there's potential for another dog to get on your dog and everything, especially right away. Okay, you want to kind of work areas like the dog park where I know that I'm comfortable because it's all controlled. Okay, and I can relax and I can just build on it. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this video was informative. Hope you have a great day.